I'm Joshua Bardwell, and I want to thank my guests today, Ivan from Orqa FPV and Andy from Get FPV. You guys, first of all, I want to acknowledge the fact that we are not in professional recording studio quality environment. You guys are at MultiGP Nationals in Daytona, and you have snuck away. Thank you so much. And you're hiding in a Starbucks in the corner of a Target so we could do this interview. So,
Right, we are in
uh,
the corner, yeah, next to an ice machine.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
but if you need any coffee to keep you caffeinated, you will be ready to
Yeah,
go.
right here.
It's
And
right behind us.
I'm very excited to have you here because I think a lot of people want to hear about what's going on with Orca and the elephant in the room, which is got to be the HDO2 release
Sure.
and all those things. So let's just start with an update. Let's start with like on a really great note. What's going on with Orca right now? How are you guys
So we
doing?
started we started shipping a few days ago, and the first units are already in the hands of the some first backers, and the impressions are kind of from our position very much expected, but we are super excited to see a great impression and super positive feedback from everyone who received their goggles or tried them here at the MultiGP. So I think we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, I first saw the goggles in January at CES. I was very impressed with what I saw, and I said, everything will hinge on your ability to execute on the vision. The vision is great, and to see the goggles actually going out now in people's hands, this is sort of the moment of truth.
Exactly. So since January, a lot of stuff changed in a positive way. I think some new features, some new stuff that we managed to pack into goggles are going to make these ones future-proof. So what you have seen in January, it's still there. It's still of the same quality, maybe even better. But the stuff that you have not tested yet, like features with FPV Connect and some other, are really standing out compared to other goggles available on the market.
So let's talk about future proof then. You say these goggles are future proof, and this is going to get us. I think a big question that is in a lot of people's minds is in January, the specs of the Orca goggles beat every single analog goggle on the market. And with the release of the HDO2, it's obvious that Fat Shark took a shot straight at you guys' specs. Their field of view, their resolution, OLED screen, they just cribbed your playbook. So,
Yeah,
when you say future proof, that gets into the question of what Orca brings to the table that Fat Shark doesn't. And I think
exactly.
that's a question that's on everybody's minds.
Absolutely. I think that the only thing you can compare with their FPV-one and the Orcas are we have the same beautiful displays inside of the goggles. And I think similarities stop right there. So yes, we have the same micro displays, Sony 0.5-inch displays inside. But yeah, well, a few days ago we had a chance to test out the HDO2 and kind of put it next to FPV-one. And even though we use the same screens inside of the goggles, the image quality is there are differences in image quality, and I don't want to kind of spoil the answer to it because I'm very biased, obviously. But I'm pretty sure when users will be able to kind of put it side by side, there's a difference in between image on those two goggles, even though they are same screens inside. But the future-proof part of the FPV-one and why FPV-one is worth $150 more to be exact is FPV Connect. FPV Connect is a module for FPV-one that will enable FPV in a way that was unseen till now. Basically, you'll be able to do live streaming directly from goggles. With the audio built into these goggles, you can put voiceover directly into your DVR recording, or when you're broadcasting, like you can do that in real time. Then you can do automatic updates of the goggles directly from mobile app, access your DVR content from mobile app. So a lot of the activities and processes that were used on goggles till Orqa are changed and made in a more convenient, more 2020, 2019 way. And having in mind that the processing power in these goggles is, so basically we have a 500 megahertz and 1 gigabyte of RAM in these goggles. So these will do a lot more with the time. We're working on some integrations with a GoPro, with DJI. So basically, these will be your all-rounder goggles in that sense.
So when you talk about the FPV Connect, basically the goggles have like Wi-Fi built in, and they can connect with your PC, with live streaming services, with GoPro, with other kind of Wi-Fi enabled services. Is that what you're getting at?
Exactly. So, but the Wi-Fi module is not built into goggles, but
Okay.
it's coming as a separate module. But
Yeah, it plugs right into that.
it plugs right into a secondary module bay. But the interesting thing is, like with Get FPV, until Christmas, everyone who buys FPV.one will get FPV Connect included in the bundle. So if you buy FPV.one before Christmas, you get all of the bells and whistles we're talking about right now.
So that's not something that will be in the goggle as of today, but that is something that will, in the future, do you have a price point for that? If they don't buy it before Christmas, how much will that add?
It's going to be around 60 to 70 bucks,
Okay.
the value of the FPV Connect. Okay, I'm going to use this opportunity to quickly demonstrate and actually talk about some of the features that we have with these goggles. So basically, in the package, you'll receive Orqa battery with nice battery status. Okay, this one is low. Battery status on the battery itself. You plug the barrel in, and you have 3 modes how you can turn on the goggles. So there is one Fat Shark style, where you put the barrel plug in and they're on immediately. You have a DJI style, you short long press, and then you have a single click. Then you have a fan button here. So there are 2 fans built inside of the goggles. One is a system fan that actively monitors the temperature inside of the goggles, and when it reaches critical point, it will automatically turn on, kick in. And there's a defogging fan, so if you get fogging into your optical engines, you press fan button and it will pretty quickly defog your goggles. On this side, we have a primary module bay. It has 5 volts. It receives all the market available receivers. We recommend using RapidFire, and FPV.one comes with the default cover for RapidFire when you buy it. This is the OSD menu joystick. You access all of the OSD features from this button. This is a DVR joystick. This is a quick DVR button. With press of this button, you basically start recording your DVR in high definition at 60 FPS and in MP4 format. Also, with the audio jack here, you can record voiceover and mix it in the DVR.
That was something. The DVR is definitely something that has to be mentioned because right now, when I record DVR, I want to record audio as well. This is a feature I've asked for a long time.
Yes.
As somebody who does tutorials, in fact, I think I mentioned it to you in January. Maybe that's why it's in there now.
That was
perhaps.
You. Yes,
oh,
that was
awesome.
You. That was
awesome.
you. That was you.
But even for people who maybe aren't doing a voiceover tutorial talking while you're flying, if you think about it, the audio from your quadcopter is usually crap. No one wants to hear that. Maybe the pilot wants to hear it in his earpiece, but nobody wants to hear it afterwards. So the ability to just have half-decent audio of you talking to your friends or anything like that built in, to me, that's a big plus. Right now, I use a Lumineer DX600 DVR to record. And I do that because the built-in Fat Shark DVR is terrible quality and skips frames and doesn't record audio. That's a $100 DVR that I paid for just to get this functionality. Now, not everybody's going to do that, but you ask, is that a $100 feature? Well, to me, it obviously was. So, and it's worth pointing out that the Fat Shark HDO2 doesn't include the new H.264 DVR that is in the Fat Shark Scout. It still has the old style DVR board, whereas the Orcas. And I think the question, if it feels like I'm going straight to kind of a head-to-head comparison, I do think the question that the HDO2s ask in the mind of the consumer is, why should I buy the Orqa for $150 more if the optical quality of the HDO2 is very similar? And that's a little bit of a blunt question, but that's that's how we got to go straight to it, I think.
Yeah, but yeah, the answer is consistent with me actually talking through all the features that we have inside of these goggles. So high definition DVR is definitely one of in the development. It was one of the most challenging things to do, and we are still polishing, making it better and better. It's a really difficult task. Let's not minorize this challenge. It's not an easy thing to do. But we saw a great value in having a very good DVR, because a lot of people share their DVR, and the image is crap, and something needed to be done about that. But just to go to add more to features, there's a lot more inside of this. So we press of this button. So above the quick DVR, there's a battery status check. So when you press this button, you get battery status check in your popping out in your OSD. So you don't need to take off the battery to check what's the voltage on it. Then you have a head tilt alarm if you're flying patch antennas or fixed wing. You set a 0 angle point, and when your head drops below a certain angle, it will start beeping. So basically, you always get the best performance from your antennas. There's also a head tracker built in. With FPV Connect, you can actually control camera gimbal on DJI's drones on a distances wire-free because of built-in head tracker and the FPV Connect. What else? Like, you can switch from 16:9, 4:3. You have adjustable FOV, which is very, very critical for using these goggles for both racing and freestyle. And
so basically, that means you can zoom the screen out if the FOV is a little too big. Is that right?
In an essence, yes. We are working on this feature in more details and in more depth, and in future updates, hopefully you'll be able to adjust the FOV on like small steps, like 31, 32, 33.
It sounds like what you're talking about. When people think about like a Fat Shark style goggle, I can't think of there really ever being a firmware update for a Fat Shark goggle.
Yeah.
They released a DVR update at one point, but the goggle functionality itself is pretty locked in. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like that Orqa is taking more of a sort of a modern interpretation where there's a powerful processor with lots of memory in the goggles. It's computer controlled, and firmware updates will add additional functionality in the future. On the other hand, there's certainly going to be people out there who are saying, how much of this will I get today, and maybe not want to stake on future promises. So how much of what we're talking about now is available today?
All of it, except FPV Connect. We designed and validated the design of the FPV Connect electronics. We have already put a big order of the hardware. And we have like a prototype application that does all of the features that I just mentioned. What we're missing on at this point is we need to design a nice UI and nice user experience in this app, because like if it's not convenient, if you if you have a complex UX to make certain feature on or working, it's not worth the time of the customer. So we will be investing following time into making the user experience and user interface of this like perfect. And I think that the features that are built in are kind of worth taking more time and a serious approach.
Yeah, for sure.
Before the launch.
I don't think anybody wants a half-baked product. The FPV market is so full of half-baked products released before they're done, using users as beta testers.
This is why it took us so much time. Yeah.
Another thing that happened since I first saw the prototype in January is that DJI released their digital FPV system, and I think everybody has to agree that that is a huge shift in the FPV sort of landscape. When we talk about the Orqa FPV.one with a base price of, what's the base price? $650. And then we're going to put a RapidFire module in it, correct? That's going to add another $100+. We're now talking $750, $800 for the best, arguably the best analog system you can get. Somebody's going to look at that and go, I can get a DJI FPV experience for almost DJI goggles and 2 air units at basically the same price, maybe $100 more. What is the argument of why somebody should buy the Orqa instead of the DJI?
First of all, I love DJI. As a company, I love DJI's digital system,
I did not expect you to say that.
No, I'm being honest, and I think that analog is still having a few more years on the market, and I think that the analog market deserves to have a proper number one in this essence. We cannot allow that all of the bells and whistles are in digital, while analog is still being actively consumed by pilots all over the world. I think they deserve as well all the bells and whistles that the technology can provide them. So in that sense, yes, if when you look at the total value of the best stuff you can buy in analog, and yes, it's $800, but that is the price you need to pay to have the best and future-proof product that will. So what you buy now for $650. It's going to become much more. So this product is going to evolve. So what you're buying today is not the same thing you're going to have within the next 6 or 7 or 8 months. So I think paying a little extra for that is kind of worth it. But it's customer who will decide on that.
An analogy you might make is, when people think about FPV goggles in the past, you upgrade the FPV goggle functionality and you upgrade the whole goggle. In this case, it seems like what we're getting is a really solid optical engine.
Yeah.
And that it's like a photographer who has a lot of great lenses, but he upgrades his body. He doesn't have to throw out his lenses. And the idea is that this goggle is upgradable through firmware update or through accessory bay, but the optical engine is solid. You're not going to have to upgrade that to get that new functionality. Okay.
Exactly.
I definitely want to ask you guys I want to hear more about the story of taking the goggle from concept to production. You guys originally, with the Kickstarter, I think you were supposed to start shipping in August, if my memory's correct.
Yes.
You actually, now it's mid-November and you're shipping. And I think a lot of people, especially the Kickstarter, you've been very, very active on the Kickstarter pages, keeping everybody up to date. But I think a lot of people would be interested to hear about maybe some of the difficulties you ran into that maybe you didn't expect, or just hear some more about that story.
Sure. So the overall development of these goggles, it took us almost 2.5, almost 3 years to build. But you need to have in mind that we before we started working on headsets, we have never done headsets before. We have never done any optical engineering. We have never done prototyping of optical systems, which is another thing. We have never done RF engineering at this level. We have never done development of FPGA processors. So basically, over the 2.5, 3 years, we collected a team of now 23 engineers that are working in Orqa, and kind of developed all of the expertise in-house within these fields, while being drone pilots ourselves. So basically, everything that you see here is done and engineered in-house, and we own the know-how on every bit and piece of this product within people that work with us. So I think that is the most valuable thing. We are one of the rare companies in FPV industry that has all of its engineering, assembly, and manufacturing capacity sitting in-house. So we own our product. So I think that is one of the most important takes from all of this period. We managed to build the expertise in-house. When talking about challenges during the development, I can tell you some challenging parts. It was definitely DVR. It's not easy to make. As I said in the beginning, it took us a lot of time, and it's still taking us time to.
I'm going to interrupt you because I want to dig into that a little more, because a lot of people out there are going to go, DVR is very hard to make. What are you talking about? Can't you just buy, I don't know, like a chip and put it on a board? And it seems like that's a solved problem.
No, unfortunately, it isn't. Yes, there are some off-the-shelf stuff available, but you can't put it into goggles. You can put it in a separate device. You can put it in something that you connect with the goggles. But to actually implement it in the same board with the goggles and to keep the temperature down and to keep everything at a reasonable cost and so on and so on, it's not an easy task. I am an engineer by education, but I'm not a good enough engineer to give you a very, very technical answer. Some of my colleagues will be able, but the high level story is what I just tell you.
Okay, good. I wanted to address that because everybody thinks it's so easy. You just buy some optics and then you buy a DVR and you just kind of slap it on a board and then it should cost $200 and what's going on here? And it is harder than that. There's a lot going on.
Just to give you an impression of how tricky sometimes it is. Like you're developing so in our optical engines we have 4 sets of glass lenses inside. So there are 4 different lenses inside. And when you do a simulation in Zemax, when you design an optical engine in Zemax and similar software, okay, you get you get a simulation that's showing, okay, this is what's supposed to happen when the beam comes through the lenses, and then you 3D print the optical engines with the slots, and then you buy a prototype optics and you put them in, and it's not good, and you are not sure. Is it the tolerances on the 3D printed parts, or is it the optical lenses? And it takes time and it costs money. So that's just one example of how difficult some stuff inside are. I would like to point out one more thing, like doing the faceplate, faceplate. That's a super difficult mechanical challenge. And Edith, who is our mechanical engineer, she spent weeks and weeks and weeks trying to find a best possible shape that will be the most universal for different face type out there, and it's such a it's a difficult task. Like you have many different face types and face shapes, so it's close to impossible to make universal solutions. But you need to make something, and the solution is here after hit and miss process.
Yeah, I think we have to acknowledge one sort of funny part of the process, which was there was a delay that was related to sourcing one particular part of the goggle.
Yeah.
The what? The which part?
The buttons.
The power button.
The power button.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the power button and the fan button. I'll tell you.
When I heard that, I thought, all these years, people have been saying, Fat Shark, how hard is it to get a power button in your goggle? And Orqa comes out and goes, now with power button. And then there's a delay. And what part is the delay? It's the power button!
Yeah, it was funny. It was funny. Like, when that happened, I will tell you how this happened. When that happened, I was like, having in mind that all the bad stuff that community put us into with comments and with memes, like it was really, really difficult time. And now you have a delay because of the buttons. Like it was very, very stressful time for us, but in the end we made it. So the thing was, these are they are not off-the-shelf buttons. They are made on order. They are standard components, but they are made on order. And the vendor, the manufacturer of the buttons, okay, they told us, okay, it's a 4 weeks lead time, and after 4 weeks, when we need to receive the buttons, everything was ready in the PCB assembly line, and they were like, no, that they're coming within 4 weeks, and then we traced back their mistake that they communicated 4 weeks instead of 8 weeks.
Oof.
But in the end, these stuff happen when you do manufacturing, and regardless of how good you tight your supply chain, there's always someone in the chain who is not responsible enough or who didn't communicate their timeline well. I mean, we're Orqa. These stuff happen with far bigger companies, talking Tesla, talking BMWs. Like every other company once in a lifetime had a delay, significant or less significant, due to some delays within supply chain. So these stuff happen. We were sad and mad, but these stuff happen, and this will never stop happening.
To your credit, I mean, you guys were very, very open, and you communicated very clearly with your Kickstarter backers. You have the subreddit, the Orqa subreddit. That stuff all got copied there.
Yeah.
And if you're going to have a delay, the least you can do is communicate clearly about what and why and how it'll be resolved. I think you guys really did that. Let's go out on a high note. The good news is that you are shipping now.
Yeah.
Product is going out the door. And how long until the Kickstarter backers will all have units? And then the big question, how long until people who aren't Kickstarter backers can start buying them and receiving them?
So we're going to fulfill Kickstarter orders within next few weeks. We have scheduled the painting process of navy blue and silver white we slightly pushed this on the right since it was a stretch goal on a Kickstarter. So this will take maybe a week or two more. But before end of this month, we will most likely deliver all of the black units that are pledged on the Kickstarter. So
Excellent.
That will be one huge milestone behind us.
Awesome.
And Get FPV, they're our exclusive brand reseller for the United States. They already have pre-orders on site, and they have a special bundle deal that is only available to them. So for $650, you get FPV.one, FPV patch and Omni antenna from Orqa, FPV battery, and FPV Connect for $650. So we will start dispatching those units starting from early December. There's a significant backlog of orders in Get FPV, so you better hurry up to get yours as soon as possible. But units should be with the people who order it on e-commerces before end of this year. So
okay. People always say, when should I order? When can I order these whatever new hot product? And I say,
now.
Well, you can order it now, and if you don't, it's going to be months till you get it, because they're going to fill the pre-order. You're going to fill the Kickstarter, then they're going to fill the pre-orders, and it may be some time before there's enough volume in the supply chain to just have stock. Right.
Exactly.
So if you want to wait till it's in stock, you may be waiting a while. So if you're interested, now is the time to pre-order. Well, there's going to be a link to that down in the video description if you're interested in a pre-order. Anything else we want to make sure we hit before we wrap up, guys?
No, I just want to say, it's a good thing that we're ramping up our production tempo. So every week we will be able to produce more and more. So we will probably shrink this waiting time significantly over a period of next few weeks and months. And this was such a great experience of internally. It was an amazing experience of building this product and having so many young people. Like average age in our company is 26, so it was a special experience to have opportunity to be working on this product. And Orqa is here to stay. It's a hard stop here. We are here to stay, and we have so much ideas. We have new products in the making. So a lot of stuff, a lot of new stuff coming out next year. So I think that the consumers will be the ones who will benefit the most, and I can't wait to start talking about all the new stuff that we have in the pipeline.
Yeah, I hear you there, and I do think that there is a different feeling. With some products, you get the feeling that the people who are driving the products are kind of just, they're, it's like you go see a musician, an old, who's been playing for 50 years, and he plays all the classics, and he's great. But then you go and you see some, young punk, and they have this energy and this drive, and they're trying new things, and you're like, oh. And there's different sort of cultures around a company, and I think I know which one of those Orqa intends to be.
Thanks.
Thanks
a lot.
Thank you, guys. Again, links to the Orqa FPV.one pre-order on Get FPV down in the video description. You guys got to get back to Nationals. And hey, who are you rooting for at Nationals? Come on, be honest.
You go first.
I like Vanover.
Vanover, he has a good shot for sure.
Yeah, and Alan Turner. Yeah, those two are like super fast ones. I think they're gonna win the Nats, but let's see. Finals are tomorrow.
Today.
Oh, today. Sorry.
Today,
Yeah. They're the final.
Any other issue? Yeah, they're today. They should be getting going with the final group here pretty soon this afternoon.
Yeah.
I like Chief FPV as well. If he wins, it's gonna be crazy because he's got so much energy. I want to see him just go nuts.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Great time.
Cool. Thank you, guys. I'll let you get back to it. Bye, everybody.
It was a pleasure. Bye-bye. Thanks.